hour, and this is the show where our team at CNBC-TV18 gets you the top stories of the day. I'm Ritu Singh, and you're watching Reporter's Diary. The top story this evening: banks led by SBI have modified the stake sale terms for Jet Airways hours before the end of the deadline to submit expressions of interest. The lenders have allowed potential bidders to rejig existing debt and infuse funds by way of loans, in addition to acquiring majority stake in the company and effecting change in management and control by acquiring up to 75% equity, as was initially indicated by the lenders. In addition, SBI has also clarified on behalf of the lenders consortium that the potential bidder would have to submit a solvency certificate to be eligible to submit an expression of interest. Now, given that these clarifications have come very last minute, bidders have been allowed to submit only soft copies of their bid documents by the end of the deadline at 6 p.m. today, and submit the hard copies only by the 14th of April. But that said, if the interest in the bidding today is not good enough, or there are few bids that come forward, if none at all, the lenders are considering, we're given to understand, the option of extending the deadline to submit EOIs only if interested players ask for an extension for genuine reasons. Now, that said, we're given to understand that Etihad remains one of the top contenders to submit a bid for Jet Airways, as does TPG as one of the private equity players. Other foreign airlines like Delta, KLM and Qatar have also been known to express interest, as have other private equity players like KKR and Indigo Partners, as well as NIIF, that could be part of a consortium. Now, will they or will they not submit bids? We'll find out by the end of the deadline, that is at 6 p.m. today, and that is a story we'll continue to track very closely for you. Now, moving on, it's a setback for the government in the Rafale case. In a unanimous verdict, the Apex Court has dismissed the centre's objections to the use of privileged Rafale documents and has allowed the petitioners to use the documents in the hearing of the review petitions. The top court will soon announce the date for the hearing of the review petitions. Ashmit Kumar was at the court and joins us now. Ashmit, a big win for the petitioners here.
Right, so big setback coming in for the government. The government will not like this one bid coming just a day ahead of the start of the Lok Sabha elections. The Apex Court rejecting the government's argument and holding that the three leaked documents, the three file notings from the Ministry of Defence, will in fact be a part of the review application that will be heard by the Apex Court, and in doing so dismissing the government's position. Now, let's not forget that the government fought tooth and nail. The government had argued vociferously before the Apex Court how these documents pertain to national security, as to how they're protected under the Official Secrets Act, and that not just that, they had also threatened action against the very petitioners for citing these documents in the first place. This, of course, was met with some interesting comments and questions that fell from Justice K.M. Joseph as well as Justice Gogoi. The petitioners on their part, of course, had argued that if there's a larger public interest at play, even if the documents have been secured through mischievous means, they need to be considered by the Apex Court. And on the back of all of these exchanges and arguments, the Apex Court has held today very clearly that the three file notings in question, the three documents in question, will be heard by the Apex Court, and that the review applications will be heard on their own merits. Now, what's interesting, why are these file notings so critical? Well, these are the file notings which were first leaked to the media and then subsequently cited here in the petition. They raised some very tough questions and serious questions as to why there were parallel negotiations being done by the Prime Minister's office, as to questions over how there was a waiver of sovereign guarantee, which is a norm for intergovernment agreement. This too is an intergovernment agreement. Why there was a waiver in the first place of a sovereign guarantee? These are the questions that in fact came to light. These are the new facts that emerged post the December 2018 judgment, which had given a clean chit as far as the Rafale deal is concerned. And it is in light of these documents, these tough questions, that the Apex Court will now resume hearing of these review applications. So again, tough times, tough issue, and a definite setback coming in as far as the government is concerned, adding to the political fodder just one day ahead of the Lok Sabha elections.
Oh, absolutely, Ashmit. A big setback indeed for the government. Thanks very much for joining in with that. Now, on to the day's political headlines then. Congress President Rahul Gandhi filed his nomination papers from Amity in Uttar Pradesh today. He was accompanied by Sonia Gandhi and Priyanka Gandhi, Robert Vadra, as well as their two children. And before filing the nomination, the Gandhis held a 3-kilometer roadshow in the family bastion. Priyanka Gandhi's son and daughter were also present at the rally today, and Rahul, remember, will be fighting the elections against BJP's Smriti Irani and has been representing the constituency for the past 15 years. Amity will be voting on the 6th of May during the 5th phase of the Lok Sabha elections. Parikshit Luthra joins us now with the very latest from Amity. Parikshit, is the Amity political pot boiling now already?
There on your screens, Rahul Gandhi arriving for the roadshow in Amity. This is the bastion of the Gandhi. Since 1967, when this constituency was formed, the Congress has lost the election only twice. Rahul Gandhi himself has been a three-time MP from the region since 2004. The BJP saying this time around things are very different. And Smriti Irani is in a strong position to defeat Rahul Gandhi. Smriti Irani alleging that Rahul is an absentee MP. He only comes once in a while. But she has been camping here, coming here regularly. There has been a lot of dispute between both the Congress and BJP over who's done more work here. Both parties claiming credit. There have been a set of announcements made by the Prime Minister as early as the first week of March. But the Congress saying many of those announcements had actually been made by the Congress in its own tenure. So these are the pictures coming from Rahul Gandhi's roadshow. He's come here with Priyanka Gandhi, Robert Vadra, so the whole Gandhi family out in full strength to campaign for Rahul. And we'll see similar scenes in Rai Bareli when Sonia Gandhi files her nomination papers as well. With bureau journalist Hruday Patra from Amity region of Uttar Pradesh, this is Parikshit Luthra.
All right, Parikshit there filing that report from Amity. The International Monetary Fund, or IMF, has slashed India's growth forecast by 20 basis points for the current and the next financial year. Even then, India does remain the world's fastest growing major economy. But the IMF's chief economist has said that they are watching India's macro data very closely. Speaking exclusively to CNBC, Geeta Gopinath, the chief economist, said that there are still some issues that need to be fixed, and the IMF has flagged the issue of deflator being used to estimate real GDP. She went on to add that it is imperative for India to communicate transparently because everybody is watching India at this point, given its significance in the global landscape.
There are important revisions that were made in 2015 as a part of modernizing India's national account statistics, and so that is certainly welcome. I mean, that said, there are still some issues that need to be fixed, and this we have flagged before with respect to the deflation, or the deflator that's being used for estimating real GDP. I mean, this is something we have flagged in the past. With regard to the newer numbers that are coming out, I mean, we are paying close attention to it. We are, speaking closely to our colleagues in India. And, I think then we will make a determination based on that. India is projected to be growing over 7% both in 2019 and 2020, which makes it one of the largest, fastest growing large economies of the world, which is why it's even more important that the statistics coming out of China out of India are transparently communicated. And that because everybody is watching India at this point.
All right, we'll continue with that debate, and to take that further, Lata Venkatesh joins us now in the studio to take the story forward. Lata.
Thanks a lot for that, Ritu. Well, there are a couple of things that the IMF chief economist has said, that some issues need to be fixed as well. The government needs to communicate transparently on statistics. This is a fairly important position, chief economist of the IMF saying that issues need to be fixed around the deflator. That was the specific point that she says, that there are still some issues that need to be fixed, and this we have flagged before with respect to the deflator that is being used for estimating the real GDP. This is something we have flagged earlier, is what she says. And then she says that India needs to communicate about its GDP more transparently. Pranab Sen, former chief statistician of India, and of course former member of the former chairman of the National Statistics Commission, as well as Sudipto Mundal, another distinguished economist and a former member of the National Statistics Commission, join us. First up, Dr. Sen, this is, I think, the third challenge coming up. First, Dr. Mohanan resigned from the Statistics Commission, and then you had those 108 economists questioning why back series was, recast without any complementarity to other concurrent data. And now the IMF is questioning. Is this a very grave challenge now to the quality of India's statistics?
Well, you see, the quality of the statistics in itself is not the question. I mean, let me just say that, Dr. Gopinath's statement had, I think, two components to it. The first component was the concern she expressed about the GDP, the deflators that are used. And that is something that we've known. What has happened is that once we moved away from volume indicator-based GDP estimates to values, the importance of the deflators and the prices that go into them became much more important. And I'm afraid we still haven't fixed that problem.
Okay.
It's not that we were unaware of it.
So what you're saying, it's a technical problem of...
It's a technical problem. It's a purely technical problem. It is... what has been done is that the wholesale price index, which is the principal component of prices that's used for deflation, that has been rebased to 1112. But whether or not that index accurately reflects the distribution of products that are included in the new GDP estimates is a question. There is absolutely no doubt that we need to spend a fair amount of thought on the price indices.
Okay.
The second component of what Dr. Gopinath said was, I think, even more interesting because she talked about communicating transparently. This is something that has never, ever been said about Indian data. Indian data has always been transparent, and I think Dr. Gopinath was reflecting the concerns that I think a lot of observers, both in India and abroad, have expressed about the independence and transparency of Indian statistics today. And that, I think, is the bigger concern. The price issue, well known, nothing new. We knew it right from the beginning. Hasn't been fixed yet, but it is fixable. The other one is a bigger challenge.
Okay. I wonder if the two are connected, and let me get Dr. Sudipta Mundal on that issue. For a layperson, a person like me, the feeling is that the deflator is being used to the benefit of the ruling dispensation because the back series was recast in such a way that the UPA term data was brought down from a previous, I think, 7.9% to an average of 6.7%, those 5 years, especially because of a couple of years being brought down rather sharply. And the second instance where it seems to have benefited the ruling dispensation is the year FY 16-17, which was the demonetization year. And there we have a figure of 8.2, which again is not borne out by complementary concurrent data like cement production or two-wheeler sales, or loan growth for that matter. Dr. Mundal, what are your comments on what the IMF chief economist is saying, and whether there is an underlying charge that data recast is seeming to favor the government?
Yeah, first of all, Lata, I don't think you should consider yourself a layperson. You're being too humble. But that said, I think the two parts of the remarks that Geeta Gopinath made and which Pranav just referred to, I think are related. Because the lack of transparency also relates to the way the deflators have been constructed. You mentioned the back series. As many people noticed, the difference between the two sets of back series that were generated was not that much when it came to the nominal GDP.
Yes.
But it was when the real was recast, you found a big change.
Yes.
And so that is really a deflated issue. And that also was, to some extent, concentrated in the financial sector. As you can imagine, finding the right deflator for a financial sector where the product is not anything physical is a big issue.
Okay.
But let me leave that aside. But the main point is that if these were described in a transparent way of what has been done, as used to be done, in the what was known as the sources and methods, and every time you had a rebasing of the GDP series, you got a very detailed document out known as sources and methods of computation of national accounts, which would tell you exactly what was done for every individual item. Now that didn't happen. When this
Okay, so that is the communication issue.
Well, it is more than communication, because the feeling is that actually these were done in a very non-transparent way, to use sort of euphemism.
Yes.
And therefore, there was reluctance to be transparent about what was being done. People may not have been comfortable with what was done. But this transparency has very far-reaching implications, which I think the people presently, sort of driving all this are not quite understanding. Because a GDP figure is the basis on which everything gets computed, whether it is your fiscal deficit, whether it is your trade deficit, and you name it.
Yes,
and these are critical inputs. It's not just a matter of communication and which party looks, which government looks better, and so on. It has to do with global investment decisions, rating agency decision, and so on.
Okay.
So GDP numbers are actually really very, very important and need to be far more carefully treated than I think some people presently, running the show have understood.
Okay.
And this is a very dangerous situation,
Okay,
especially because India is now such a large economy. One of the second largest emerging economy, one of the largest global economies, and therefore even global estimates of growth and so on, as she was mentioning, Gita Gopinath mentioning, is affected by these estimates.
Fair point. So I was just trying to get quick reactions. We don't have too much time. So very quickly, Dr. Sen, there are a lot of aspersions cast even on Chinese data, and yet foreign investors just flock. Money is pretty amoral so long as it is able to make more money. So do you think this can mean trouble for India in terms of investments or ratings? Or do you think this will pass? It will be overlooked?
Well, up to a point, it will be overlooked. I don't think individual investors are particularly taken in by the data. I mean, what they really look at are usually are indicators which are more proximate to the business they are in. That was the case in China, for instance. If you look at the Chinese case, most of the foreign investors in any case were investing in China to export.
Yes.
So what was happening in the Chinese economy didn't really matter very much to them.
Okay.
This is not the India story.
Oh, right.
In the Indian case, most foreign investors are investing for the domestic market.
Story. Okay.
And therefore, projecting what will happen to domestic growth is central to their decisions. So I think we will be more affected than China will. But as I said, for individual products in individual activities, it might not matter that much.
Okay. Well, I'm sure this question by the IMF merits more discussion. We just thought we'll vet the viewers' appetite with two important minds who have studied statistics for such a long time. Dr. Mundal and Dr. Sen, thank you very much for joining us.
We're tracking this evening. You're watching CNBC-TV18 and this is Reporter's Diary. But let's start with the market action of the day, where bulls failed to hold on to yesterday's gains, with the benchmark indices falling close to 1% to end at the day's low. So the Nifty failed to hold on to 11,600 and the Sensex fell more than 350 points. The Nifty banker fell in line with the benchmarks, and while the mid-caps fared slightly better, that index also ending 0.25% in the red. But the top story that we're tracking this evening, with minutes to go for the deadline to expire, banks have offered more time to potential suitors to bid for debt-ridden Jet Airways. Now, banking sources claim the deadline for expressions of interest has been extended to April 12th after a request from potential suitors. In fact, just a few hours back, banks had tweaked the terms of sales, and now the deadline has been extended as well. Ritu Singh is here with more details on that. Ritu, you have been picking up fresh details. What are banks telling you, and will we see a bidder in 2 days?
Well, that remains the big question, Ari. But yes, fast developing all the actions in this Jet Airways particular case. First, of course, a few hours before the deadline was supposed to end, we saw a clarification coming in from State Bank of India that they had modified the terms of, bidders submitting EOIs for Jet Airways. So not only, did it allow bidders to acquire up to 75% stake to effect change in management and control, the revised EOI also allowed a potential bidder to come and rejig the debt and put in fresh loans into the company. So that is another way of acquiring Jet Airways that the lenders have now allowed potential bidders to do. They have also asked the potential bidders to submit a solvency certificate before they put in an expression of interest. But all of that aside, we're given to understand from our banking sources that the deadline has also now been extended from 6 p.m. today to 6 p.m. on Friday, the 12th of April. This, we understand, has been done at the request of some of the potential bidders, that are still interested in acquiring stake in Jet Airways without naming, who these bidders are. We're also given to understand from our banking sources that at least 2 expressions of interest were submitted with SBI caps before even this deadline was extended to Friday. These 2 expressions of interest have come in, even before the deadline was extended, and bankers are hopeful perhaps there'll be more bidders that will be coming forward now that the terms of the EOI have been revised and the deadline has also been extended. So fast developing story. We'll keep you updated with the latest, but we're given to understand that Etihad remains one of the top contenders to, put in a bid for Jet Airways, and it is likely to submit at least an expression of interest, is what we're given to understand from our banking sources. Other private equity players like TPG, Indigo Partners, KKR, perhaps even NIF also remain interested parties, as do some other international airlines, including Qatar, including Delta, Air France, KLM. But we'll, perhaps now find the final names only on Friday, 6 p.m., which is when the deadline has now been extended to.
Right, so that's the latest regarding the developments coming in from Jet Airways. Many thanks, Ritu, for joining us with all the details. But from Jet Airways to Rafale, where it's a setback for the government. In that case, in a unanimous verdict, the Apex Court has dismissed the centre's objections to the use of privileged Rafale documents and has allowed the petitioners to use the documents in the hearing of the review petitions. Now, the top court will soon announce the date for the hearing of those review petitions. Ashmit is here with all the details from there. Ashmit, a big win for petitioners?
Right, so big setback coming in for the government. The government will not like this one bit coming just a day ahead of the start of the Lok Sabha elections. The Apex Court rejecting the government's argument and holding that the 3 leaked documents, the 3 file notings from the Ministry of Defence will in fact be a part of the review application that will be heard by the Apex Court, and in doing so dismissing the government's position. Now, let's not forget that the government fought tooth and nail. The government had argued vociferously before the Apex Court how these documents pertain to national security, as to how they're protected under the Official Secrets Act, and that not just that, they had also threatened action against the very petitioners for citing these documents in the first place. This, of course, was met with some interesting comments and questions that fell from Justice K.M. Joseph as well as Justice Gogoi. The petitioners on their part, of course, had argued that if there's a larger public interest at play, even if the documents have been secured through mischievous means, they need to be considered by the Apex Court. And on the back of all of these exchanges and arguments, the Apex Court has held today very clearly that the 3 file notings in question, the 3 documents in question, will be heard by the Apex Court, and that the review applications will be heard on their own merits. Now, what's interesting, why are these file notings so critical? Well, these are the file notings which were first leaked to the media and then subsequently cited here in the petition. They raised some very tough questions and serious questions as to why there were parallel negotiations being done by the Prime Minister's office, as to questions over how there was a waiver of sovereign guarantee, which is a norm for intergovernment agreement. This too is an intergovernment agreement. Why there was a waiver in the first place of a sovereign guarantee? These are the questions that in fact came to light. These are the new facts that emerged post the December 2018 judgment, which had given a clean chit as far as the Rafale deal is concerned. And it is in light of these documents, these tough questions, that the Apex Court will now resume hearing of these review applications. So again, tough times, tough issue, and a definite setback coming in as far as the government is concerned, adding to the political fodder just one day ahead of the Lok Sabha elections.
Right, so that's what's transpired today at the Rafale hearing in the Supreme Court. Many thanks, Ashmit, for bringing us up to speed with all the developments. The latest on the row over this electoral bonds, the Election Commission has told the Supreme Court was not against the issuance of electoral bonds for funding political parties. However, the poll panel has argued that it is against the anonymity of donors and wants transparency in that scheme. Let's also get to the day's political headlines, where Congress President Rahul Gandhi filed his nomination from Amity today in Uttar Pradesh. He was accompanied by Sonia Gandhi as well as Priyanka Gandhi, Robert Vadra as well as their children. And before filing the nomination, the Gandhis held a 3-kilometer roadshow in the family bastion. Priyanka Gandhi's son and daughter were also present at the rally. Now, Rahul Gandhi will be fighting the elections against BJP's Smriti Irani and has been representing the constituency for the past 15 years. Amity will be voting on the 6th of May during the 5th phase of elections. Parikshit Luthra was present at Rahul Gandhi's roadshow. He sends this report.
There on your screens, Rahul Gandhi arriving for the roadshow in Amity. This is the bastion of the Gandhis. Since 1967, when this constituency was formed, the Congress has lost the election only twice. Rahul Gandhi himself has been a 3-time MP from the region since 2004. The BJP saying this time around things are very different. And Smriti Irani is in a strong position to defeat Rahul Gandhi. Smriti Irani alleging that Rahul is an absentee MP. He only comes once in a while. But she has been camping here, coming here regularly. There has been a lot of dispute between both the Congress and BJP over who's done more work here. Both parties claiming credit. There have been a set of announcements made by the Prime Minister as early as the first week of March. But the Congress saying many of those announcements had actually been made by the Congress in its own tenure. So these are the pictures coming from Rahul Gandhi's roadshow. He's come here with Priyanka Gandhi, Robert Vadra, so the whole Gandhi family out in full strength to campaign for Rahul. And we'll see similar scenes in Rai Bareli when Sonia Gandhi files her nomination papers as well. With bureau journalist Hriday Patra from Amity region of Uttar Pradesh, this is Parikshit Luthra.
Now, India goes to vote in a day, and at this crucial time, our team at CNBC-TV18 visited the Beed district in Maharashtra to get a sense of what rural Maharashtra wants. Archana Shukla travelled to Kakadira, a village in Beed that was Gopinath Munde's constituency and has voted 100% for the Bharatiya Janata Party in the previous elections. Let's take a look at the main issues that they're facing.
Beed constituency has the distinction of seeing a Lok Sabha win by the highest margin. Pritam Munde in the 2014 by-polls after the demise of Gopinath Munde, who was the MP from this seat, Pritam Munde saw a win with over a margin of about 7 lakh votes, and that is the highest in the history of Indian elections. This constituency has largely been a stronghold of the BJP. And currently the village in which I'm standing, 100% votes for BJP, while they have lots of hopes from the government, from the Narendra Modi-led BJP government, but there are also some aspirations that are lying unfulfilled, even for a village that 100% votes for BJP. आपके यहाँ पर गांव में सबसे बड़ी समस्या किस चीज की है? काम वगैरह है, पानी है, क्या है?
रोजगार पानी, रोजगार पानी नहीं, पीने को नहीं, खेती को नहीं, और रोजगार है ही नहीं, वही समस्या बड़ी है।
पानी नहीं है तो खेती किसका होना है?
दुष्काल घोषित करते हैं तो अनुदान देते हैं किसानों को। आप लोगों को अनुदान मिला है सरकार की तरफ से?
अनुदान बिल्कुल नहीं, दुष्काल अनुदान नहीं मिला। अभी जो मोदी ने 6,000 डाले ना, उसका 2,000 का हफ्ता मिला मुझे।
जो मोदी जी ने 2,000 रुपए देने की बात कही थी, वो 10%
लोग को मिला।
100 में से 10 को मिला है।
10 को मिला है,
बाकी को नहीं मिला। जो कर्जा माफी का जो चला था, उसमें से आप लोगों का कर्जा माफ हुआ होगा ना? कुछ लोगों का।
एक आदमी को हुआ, एक आदमी को।
इस गांव में एक आदमी का हुआ?
एक ही आदमी को हुआ।
पिछले 5 साल में आपने जिसको वोट किया था, उन लोगों ने आपके लिए कुछ काम किया है? आपको ऐसा लगता है?
4.5 साल में अच्छा काम किया, पब्लिक का काम ज्यादा किया,
पब्लिक
सार्वजनिक काम।
अच्छा।
वैयक्तिक काम थोड़ा सर नौकरी वगैरह थोड़े कम है मिली, लेकिन शासकीय काम है ना, रोड ये पानी हो थोड़ा बड़ा बड़ा काम ये किया बीजेपी सरकार ने।
पूरा 100% इधर से मतदान बीजेपी को जाता है। मतदान ऑटोमेटिक करता है मुंडे साहब को नाम सुन के।
अच्छा।
और इधर ऐसा है, एक बार मुंडे साहब का नाम लेगा तो पूरा गाँव इकट्ठा होता है।
अच्छा, पर आपको अब आप खुद ही बोल रहे हैं कि काम नहीं हुआ है यहाँ पर। आपके गांव को कुछ नहीं मिला है।
गांव को वो कुछ नहीं मिला।
Biggest issues all over the countries, that is the unemployment, and every youth has been surviving from these issues. I am also be one of the youth. I am preparing for the MPSC and UPSC, and so I have need to be the jobs. They are given a promise to us, and they aren't fulfilled that. I am unhappy on this only issues, that is unemployment. All other sectors they are doing the very better jobs.
कांग्रेस ने अपने वचन पत्र में बोला है कि 22 लाख जो गवर्नमेंट की सरकारी वैकेंसीज है उसको लोग एक साल में पूरा कर भरेंगे। आपको उस पे कोई भरोसा लगता है? आपको लगता है?
जी नहीं, बिल्कुल नहीं। कांग्रेस वालों को तो बिल्कुल भी भरोसा नहीं है। बीजेपी वाले तो कुछ कर रहे हैं, लेकिन कांग्रेस वाले तो बिल्कुल भी कुछ भी नहीं कर रहे। वो इतने साल में क्या किया? कुछ भी नहीं किया ना। बीजेपी वाले ने तो कुछ तो किया है, अच्छे काम किए।
मैं उससे नाराज नहीं, लेकिन वो भी अभी नया नया है, इसलिए मालूम है कि ये गांव अपना है और इससे देखने का भी जरूरत नहीं। ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए। ये गांव के लोग भी दूर हो सकते हैं।
गांव वाले भी दूर जा सकते हैं। Well, this gentleman puts it very beautifully. If you take the voters for granted, even your utmost devoted voters will turn their face away. This one village, Kakadhira in Bir district, votes 100% for BJP, and their MP this time, Pritam Munde, while BJP has done large-scale work, the village here is still somewhere unhappy because not even a single rupee from the MP-led fund has been spent in this village. And that's one of the biggest reasons why the villagers here are a little unhappy, and they're saying that politicians and MPs and MLAs should not take their voters for granted. That's a very important message this election.
So that report coming in from the BJP bastion, where the candidate has always won, Bid in Maharashtra. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Reporter's Diary. Many thanks for watching, but do stay tuned to CNBC-TV18. Up next is Urban Reality, where we try to decode why urban votes matter in this Lok Sabha election.